So what we found is that both the Pfizer and the Moderna trials are both showing a clear signal of increased risk of serious adverse events among the vaccinated. Now, serious adverse events are events that the companies themselves have classified as being of the most concerning quality. Namely, it's usually something that lands you in the hospital, and that's why it's classified as a serious adverse event. And the trial data are indicating that we're seeing about an elevated risk of these serious adverse events of around 1 in 800 people vaccinated. So one additional serious adverse event for every 800 people vaccinated. Now that is much, much more common than what you see for other vaccines, where the reported rates are in the range of 1 or 2 per million vaccinees. In these trials, we're seeing 1 in every 800. All right. So, and this is a rate that in past years has had vaccines taken off the market. Just to put that in some perspective, like in 1976, we had Guillain-Barré syndrome after influenza vaccines that were then, withdrawn. So, and the other thing in terms of background to understand is that we're talking about randomized trials here, right? There's a lot of studies out there, but we're talking about randomized trials, which are widely considered the highest quality evidence. And we're talking about the trials that were submitted by Pfizer and Moderna that supported the regulator's authorization. So the results are really raising concerns, particularly about the safety of the mRNA vaccines in low-risk groups. And that's why it's really important that we have an independent replication of these data using the individual participant data from the trials. When you're entrusted for protecting the public's health, and you as a regulator, you need to be in receipt of all the data. Not summaries of the data, but all the data. The most granular, detailed data should be all in your possession, and you should be going over that with as much scrutiny as you possibly can. That's a responsibility, I think, that the regulator has. As far as what we can do, we're limited. As I told you, we have written the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna in a public open letter asking for the data in order to refine our estimates, in order to have more information about the subgroups and how these harms, what is going on at a subgroup level. We asked for the data. We have not received a reply. It's going to take not simply us asking for data, it's probably going to take the media to highlight that regulators are not in possession of the data, and that independent groups like our group, which wants to analyze the patient level data, has no access to it. And so there is no ability right now for independent researchers to say, I've looked at all the data myself and I can tell you, here are my conclusions, because independent investigators can't get access to the data. We're getting close to 2 years past authorization, and we still don't have access to the data. These data should have been accessible back in 2020.